Today I'll be talking about struggling. Now my wife is in the background, so sometimes I'll be referring to her, or maybe she'll chime in every once in a while, just to expand on some ideas or anything like that. But if you guys see me look over there, that's probably why. But today's topic is going to be struggle, and pretty much what people's struggles are and how to get over them, because I hear a lot of people struggling as far as trying to manifest, as far as meditation, and even in like spiritual circles, there's just a lot of idea on whether or not struggle is a good thing or a bad thing. It depends on how you see it. So I'm just gonna get started right away, just start with my first idea, my first thought. And that is that I hear so many people say like, I'm having a hard time meditating. I'm having a hard time with visualizing, with manifesting. I can't sit still. I can't do this. I can't do that. And so the first thing I want to address is that it's okay, because when you compare something like meditation and you compare it to something that you think is easy, kind of like, I guess, riding a bike, meditation is a whole practice in which that's something that you have to practice every single day in order for you to get good at it. So it's the same thing with manifesting. I speak a lot on the process of manifesting, where you have to visualize and you have to feel it, and then it becomes a manifestation. But within that explanation, I feel like people just expect themselves to be really good at it, like automatically from one day to another. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna start meditating and I'm just gonna start manifesting just like that. Like if you just decided to one day pick something up and just be a master and do it, That's like comparing yourself to playing a piano. It's like, well, today I'm gonna learn how to play piano. So tomorrow I'm gonna play Mozart, That's pretty much how a lot of times I see people compare it to. It's like, okay, I'm gonna start meditating, so tomorrow I'm gonna have the perfect life that I want. But it's within the struggle of trying to manifest and trying to figure out how to do it that stops you from actually meditating, because a lot of people don't realize that you have to learn to concentrate. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to visualize, but I can't meditate and I can't visualize straight because my mind is all over the place. So one of the biggest struggles everyone has is simply sitting still and just being there first. So being neutral and blocking out the outside world first. So like, for example, if you have a hard time with just simply meditating and sitting down, it is going to be hard for you to visualize anything, because the thoughts that come into your mind are just going to block out anything that you're trying to create. So what I want to emphasize is that this is normal, because you cannot expect yourself to be a master and an expert at this from one day to another. As I mentioned earlier, you just have to learn how to be okay with the process of learning these things and not rushing them. A lot of times it's in the process of rushing everything that you forget to actually learn to do the process correctly. And that's all you want to learn how to do, is simply be a beginner, be okay with it, and then work your way up slowly and naturally. You don't want to beat yourself up because you don't know how to play Mozart yet, as I mentioned. You're just starting out this process. You may have heard about manifestation, spirituality, and all these things, meditation, and you're struggling. That's okay. Just got to learn to be fine with it and learn to engage in the actual process. And hello to everybody coming in. Hi. So that's the thing. Just going to be talking about that with first concentration, which is the first aspect in learning to meditate and learning to manifest, is to learn how to focus. And what this means is learning how to be bored, actually, because a lot of times in this world, we're overstimulated with phones, with things, with so many outside influences that we cannot actually focus on what we're setting out to do. And this goes into every aspect of life. If you're trying to do your homework, for example, for college, if you cannot concentrate and you can't focus, by the time it comes for you to take a test, then it's going to be hard for you to get a good grade, you see? So you have to learn how to sit down and be bored, or learn how to sit with the boredom, sit with the silence in order for you to meditate and in order for you to manifest. The first step is just simply concentration. One of the first struggles anyone has is always going to be with just sitting down and concentrating on something. So what I recommend if you have a struggle with concentrating and focus, if you sit down, you might notice that as soon as you sit down and you close your eyes, you start doing this. So you're like, okay, I'm going to meditate today. I'm going to manifest, and so I know what to do already. I'm going to sit down, and then I'm going to imagine, then I'm going to feel it, and then I'm going to manifest it. So people do this. You sit down and you say, okay, I'm going to manifest now. So you close your eyes. As soon as you do that, the first step, and this is always funny, you sit down, you close your eyes. You start doing this. You start scratching, you start squirming, you start getting uncomfortable. As soon as you close your eyes, as soon as that happens. So the thing is, the problem is not the act of actually sitting down and doing it. It's the fact that you cannot focus. It's the fact that your body's working against you, because you're so used to stimulation. You're so used to entertainment, things going fast. What is it called? Instant gratification. There you go. Instant gratification on what you want. Everything happens so fast. It's like you get a like on social media, you get that dopamine rush. Your brain is always on, everything is moving so quickly. Meditation is the opposite, in which everything is going so slow, but it's quick at the same time, because you feel everything. How do you say? You feel everything more intensely, right? Like I would say you feel time differently. Like it moves slowly, but at the same time, you feel it a lot more. So out here, you don't really notice time when you're doing something that's entertaining, because everything goes by very fast and everything is just a rush of dopamine. Everything is just moving quickly. You don't even feel the time. In meditation, you feel the time, and it's more vast, you can say. So that's what I'm saying. As soon as you sit down and you try to meditate, you try to focus, that is when the outside world influences you in your meditation. Everything tries to go quickly. What you have to do is slow it down. And this is the number one struggle that a lot of people have when meditating, when just trying to visualize. So this is the first obstacle. But as I mentioned,
in the silence, there's a lot of, you start to think about all the negative things.
Yeah. In the silence, you start to feel all the negative things because it all comes up. And that's why I always say, you can't meditate. You struggle, and that's okay, because that's part of the design, to learn to silence it. And all that means to learn to silence something, your mind, pretty much, because you can't actually stop thinking, right? What it means to just silence the mind is to silence everything that happens out here. And this is all stuff like, what am I going to eat for dinner? What am I going to do with my job? Like all these things. This person said this to me today. This happened when I was walking down the street. All those things are supposed to get shut out. That's what the silence means. So once all of that is shut down, then you get a different version of what you're actually thinking within you. And that all that happens within meditation, trying to concentrate on something. That's why it can be very difficult. The first struggle is always that. So you have to learn to be okay with that. If you're sitting down and you start getting jittery, uncomfortable, and you can't do it, your first step always is to concentrate on your bodily movements. Because as soon as you get uncomfortable when you sit down, that just simply means you have to start controlling and just telling your body to listen to you, slowly but surely. It's like, okay, I can't sit down for a long period of time. Let me start with my body. As soon as I sit down, I start to get itchy. For some reason, it's always during meditation, I start getting itchy. I get uncomfortable. I start thinking about something else. But just sit through it, and slowly you start building up that tolerance for sitting down. Then you can start incorporating different things and different techniques now into your meditation, into your visualization. But you first want to get your body under control, in which you can actually do the process of even sitting down first. So it's okay if you struggle, because for some reason, there's I would say, an idea where people feel like they have to just be a master already at manifestation. Just because you hear about it, it's like, okay, we all can manifest. We're all the I am, we're all this. So we all should be able to manifest equally. However, The nuance is it depends on your level of conscious awareness of being able to even manifest, if that makes sense. So that's how it works. It all depends on your ability to even visualize and realize certain things. A lot of this also connects to trying to impress other people, because when a lot of times we're trying to manifest something, like, let's say, for example, you struggle with confidence or you struggle with your self-image, your self-esteem. What happens when you have low self-esteem, low confidence, is this projects outwardly as a physical manifestation. So a lot of times, just the energy is pointed outwards, where you're like, okay, well, I'm going to now try to impress other people. So now your energy goes over there. It's like, okay, I'm going to try to impress girls. So I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to start doing this stuff. So your energy is now focused on trying to impress others. And this goes again for every single avenue in life. It's like, okay, well, I want to be a doctor so I can get money, so I can impress people. I want to get big muscles so I can go to the gym, so I can feel confident, so I can look good for other people. So you're always doing things for other people. If you catch yourself at any time doing things for the sake of impressing other people, then that can turn into a struggle as well that you have, because your energy is outside of you. So I'm going to explain why that is. Whenever your energy is focused on the betterment of yourself for other people in a way where it's like, I'm going to impress everyone, then you're doing it the opposite way. It should be like this. I'm going to go to the gym for myself, impress myself, then you become impressive. Then you impress others. You see, it's not bad to impress people, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if you want to be impressive, it starts within you, you see. So this is another point of contention that I see sometimes within people. It's like, I want to prove myself to others. But in manifestation, it's not about actually proving anything to anyone. It's just simply about being. So if you're being something, then whatever you are being just expresses itself outwardly. You see, you don't have to first do this. You don't have to say, well, I'm going to do this for everyone else. You just have to simply be that, and then everybody else will see it. You see? So a lot of times, it's just about your outer image versus the image that you have of yourself. Because two images can't exist at the same time like that. They'll always be fighting each other. Your outer image to what you're trying to make people feel like this is who I am to other people is going to be fighting with the image that you have with yourself. This is why a lot of people feel exhausted, because you're putting up just a facade, a persona that you're trying to uphold to the outer world. So then when you do this, you're just fabricating a version of yourself that is not necessarily real. It's a version of yourself that you created, but again, it's like a wall covering the real version of yourself. So then manifestation becomes difficult. You just have to learn to be yourself and then radiate that outwardly, because people will always see who you really are through your vibration, through your frequency, and it's just here to show you through reflection who you really are, if that makes sense. So it's never about other people. It's never about what you're doing for others necessarily. It's just based off who you are. So that can be another thing that gets in the way with manifestation. Just the idea of always trying to do things for other people, trying to impress people and do things like that. You were going to say something? No. So that's the other thing here. And among actually spiritual people and spiritual circles, another thing that happens that I see is just simply the idea where there's an idea where among people, there's, how do I say? The idea that being human is bad, okay? Where you're a human being, and again, it ties into what I was saying in the beginning, like where it's hard for people to meditate and visualize because you can't concentrate and because you can't sit down because you have a body. So it's like, as I mentioned before, when you try to sit down and you try to like just close your eyes, as soon as you start doing that, you sit down and you start getting itchy, you start getting uncomfortable. when all that stuff happens, a lot of people blame it actually on just simply being a human being. And to me, that's kind of funny sometimes, because it's like, well, you cannot necessarily blame it on having a body and being a human being, because we already have it. So the point is not to blame it. It's just learning how to use it. You see, it's kind of like saying, I'm doing this thing that's uncomfortable. I'm trying to meditate. I'm trying to visualize because I'm already uncomfortable in the life that I'm living. So if you're uncomfortable with the life that you're living, right? And then you're trying to manifest yourself out and you can't do it, it creates a lot of frustration in people. So then among spiritual people, among these circles sometimes, you'll notice that there's a lot of contention of, well, if I'm uncomfortable in my life already and I'm trying to manifest myself out of it, that is bad. So then the struggle becomes, I'm struggling because I'm trying to be a human being. I know that I'm spiritual and I know that I can manifest, but the reason I can't manifest is because there's a lot of suffering and I'm struggling because I'm a human being. So it becomes this battle of light versus dark, and I'm a spiritual person, so I have this light inside of me that has to transcend, and you're just trying to transcend yourself out or try to use another faculty in order to manifest when you are actually just a human being. And just because you're a spiritual person and just because you know about spiritual principles and all of these things doesn't take away from your actual experience of living here and being a human being. We all are spiritual people, all light beings, whatever you want to call it. We all seek to learn to manifest and meditate, but we have to learn to understand the balance of being a human being and being spiritual at the same time. Your light, in other words, is not supposed to transcend like that or overcome this just like that. You do it by being a human being. So in other words, your light is supposed to express itself through this body.
You got a question with Daniel. He says, how can I truly transcend?
Oh, I see. Hello. Hi, Dan and Man. So how can I truly transcend? Okay, yeah. So like I was saying, transcending just simply is understanding that your body is the temple. So it's like how the Bible says like this. The light is in you. Now, your body is not evil and it's not bad. It is simply the temple. It is the vessel, in other words. So the light that you have within you is supposed to express itself fully. And what that means is simply to be yourself and bring yourself out to the fullest capacity. So then your body becomes a physical expression of the maximum potential that you can be. It's not necessarily about transcending somewhere else, because you can transcend while being here. And that is simply being the best version of yourself. You do this by meditating, by understanding being yourself to the maximum capacity. So this means removing all of the negative thoughts that we have and having control over not just like our ideas and our emotions, but just filtering out what doesn't serve us and then keeping what does. And this is pretty much what transcending means. It's not necessarily transcending the physical world itself. It's just seeing the world for what it truly is. Because the spirit world and the material world are the same thing. It's just that the material world is a different vibration of spirit. Spirit is just higher vibrating matter, and then matter is a lower vibration of spirit. So in order to transcend, you can simply say you can vibrate higher, you see? But then you just vibrate within your body.
He's saying, where does the light belong?
Okay. I see. Where does the light belong, though? Okay. So you can answer this two ways. I'll explain it like this. You can say the light belongs here within you because, again, you're the temple. If you're the temple, this is where the light belongs. That's it. And the light belongs where it came from, where it originated. We say heaven. We say the fourth dimension, the higher realms, whatever you want to call it. Both places. But we're always connected to both. So if I could draw you a thing really quick about that. It kind of looks like this. I have a whiteboard here. Just going to draw you a quick illustration.
He said,
I'll explain. I'll explain. So this is you. It's like a. Hopefully you can see it. So within here, right? You have heaven, okay? So this is what usually, we think of transcending. Somewhere else that's not here, okay? This is us. But within us, we have this consciousness, okay? We'll call this the light up here. The Bible says, you are the light of the world, okay? This is just consciousness that we represent this by. Now, consciousness, us, our body, is sort of like a bridge between the higher realms and the lower ones. So we live somewhere right there in the middle. We are in between what you would call the higher realms and the lower ones. So it's sort of like understanding just the balance between light and dark. Just understanding how to balance those two. So to serve a higher purpose doesn't necessarily mean to leave this place or anything like that. It just means understanding that you have connection with another realm. You have a spiritual faculty, and your body is not a prison for the light within you. It is simply the reflection in which light must express itself through you. So it's not a bad thing. It's just understanding how to balance both parts rather than rejecting the body completely and then accepting only the spiritual side. It's sort of like expressing the yin yang, where there's light and there's dark. It's the balance between both ideas. We are attached to this earth through our body.
he's saying the 3 principles or the 10 lenses?
Okay. The 3 principles of the 10 lenses. I see. What do you mean by the 3 principles and the 10 lenses? I've never heard of those.
He's talking about the Hermetic principles?
The Hermetic principles? No. No, he would have said it. No, I'm not sure. But if we're talking about the 7 principles, the 7 Hermetic principles, I mean, we could talk about polarity.
Yeah. The Hermetic principles.
Oh, the Hermetic principles. Yeah. The idea of polarity, in which there's always 2 opposites, and that there is no contradiction, because the idea is that within understanding polarity is that everything is one. So there's never really a contradiction. Everything just works together to express itself. It's sort of like understanding the idea of God as well, understanding that good and evil exist at the same time, and that ultimately everything that is here serves to just exist for good, for the good of something, including evil. So it's sort of like understanding pain in your life, where what's the point of all of my struggles and all of my pain? And it's like, well, ultimately it is to serve you to learn something. So then if it's here to teach you something, then it serves good, ultimately. So then evil actually doesn't exist. It's one. So then there's no contradiction, if that makes sense. You see, a lot of people, like I would say, like, we'll do something simple with meditation. Like, okay, well, if I'm meditating, it's all in my imagination. That means that I'm contradicting myself. I'm just being delusional. But it's deeper than that. You're not simply contradicting yourself. You just have to understand how it kind of works and balances itself out. Yeah, there are layers within both sides. You just gotta correct balance. Good side, which is really the best version of yourself. Yeah. And that is the thing about being human a lot of times. We feel like it is dark, like it is disgusting compared to the light version, because it's like, okay, the light is great. The light is fantastic. It is good. It is just a lot better, you know? But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to reject the whole thing. Because light exists, and because light exists, there is a shadow that creates darkness. It's like how the Bible describes God commands the light to shine out of darkness. It's sort of like how the story of Genesis, where the earth was created in the first place. There was only darkness and there was water, and that's it. So then came the Word, which was light, and then light expands on the darkness. Darkness simply means, like when we talk about darkness and the void, this simply means the darkness and the silence, the primordial sea, in other words, where nothing is created, nothingness. Within nothing is everything. You see, there's another contradiction. If nothing holds potentiality of everything in it, all you have to do is shine what you would call light there. Light then creates sort of like an image. And then within that potential, that image becomes something. Because now you're creating a boundary out of the nothingness. Because if you think about the principle of darkness, you can spend a lot of time in darkness. There's no sense of direction. There's only you in the middle. So no matter how far you go, you're never going to reach anything. So this is where the idea of light comes in to the darkness, where light creates a form within there. It creates a potential of something. So instead of being unlimited, you can now understand the darkness because of the light, if that makes sense. It's sort of like explaining the idea of Jesus Christ being God and how he is a representation of God through his physical body, you see? He came down to become God so that we could see it, so we can get an idea of it, because we couldn't understand it otherwise, because the idea of God is so unlimited that we need to bring it down into a physical form in order to see it and understand it, you see? So it becomes just expressing yourself through your body, expressing yourself through these understandings, instead of rejecting everything and just dropping the idea of being a human being, being in a flesh body of the darkness, and just understanding that light is supposed to shine through ourselves, through our body, and express itself as a physical manifestation. So what does it say here? We are part of the never-ending loop that stems from pure light. Yes. So it just becomes, how you would say, the expression of how the light, you are the expression of the light itself. So you can say this too. We are all different expressions of light, different variations of light itself. Everything around us is different patterns, different frequencies, and different ways the light expresses itself. And this is all that manifestation is, really. Because if you get into meditation, you get into this, you're just changing pretty much the vibration and the patterns that go in within yourself, so that then this expresses itself differently. We're all different arrangements of the same structure. We're all light, everything is light, and everything is just different variations of that light. So then if you can change the different arrangements and patterns of light within you, you change everything. Wasn't that the point made on Mount Sinai? Like God literally spoke to a nation and have one Bible. It gets a bit confusing. So it gets confusing where people have one Bible. Well, I'll explain it like this. Because for me, it's not about, following the rules like this. Because I don't necessarily believe that I don't necessarily believe that the Bible itself is sort of like the end-all be-all. I believe that the Bible is more symbolic, more allegorical in explaining different processes that happen within consciousness. And I believe that many different texts and many different things throughout history have served to explain this process through hidden symbolism and just understanding from a different perspective. I would say less about morals and rules, just more so about the unfoldment of your own consciousness. And that's the way I see it. So it does get confusing because you think of, okay, well, there must be, one way to do things. But if we look at life, a lot of us have different, like I was mentioning, we have different arrangements of the same life. People go through good things, bad things. Some people have bad things happen to them. You hear what is the phrase? Why do good things happen to bad people? It's because we all have different arrangements of different consciousness within ourselves. So the Bible serves to just explain how consciousness works so that then we don't end up suffering. So then
also like the law of consciousness, like what you accept as true becomes what you experience.
Yeah. So whatever you accept as true, it just becomes what you experience. So it becomes less about morality, becomes less about, well, you do this because you have to do it. And it's more about if you want to stop struggling, you have to understand how your mind works and how consciousness works. So it's a way of setting you free from the trap of suffering here so that you can not only manifest, but have peace within yourself. So I see the question here. The Bible isn't the word of light. I would say it is, but I wouldn't say it is the word, like how you would say it is the end all be all. It is definitely a good book, I mean, I love reading it. I read it often, but I don't take it away from other texts either. It's sort of like very hidden, very allegorical, very sacred, I would say. Just, you have to learn how to see it, in other words, where all the stories there, Moses, Adam, Eve, Cain and Abel, are allegories of all things that happen within you. So it's not just necessarily the Bible itself. You are the Bible, and it's just told through that story. It's told through those stories. And so that's how you hear, what is that? What is the verse, Vanessa, where it says, God writes the Bible in your heart? Something like that. I don't know. The word of God dwells in your heart.
Yes.
Something like this. So then the story is that you are the living Bible, the living temple. You are the living temple of God, in which it dwells within you. The word is in you. And then this is the temple in which God is there and expresses itself. The temple of Solomon is you. You are the temple. So you build this temple. And what a funny thing about the temple of Solomon is the Bible says this: the temple of Solomon is built in silence, and it's built without tools of iron. If you think about this for a second, what kind of temple can you build with no tools of iron and in silence? So everyone's quiet there, building kind of like this, So, but that's not what it means. It's not a physical interpretation, because we're talking about entering the silence, which is meditation, within you, because you are the temple. The temple is built in silence. Within this silence, no tool of iron. Iron just represents harsh thoughts, or the thoughts from the outer world. Those thoughts where I'm not good enough, I'm good for nothing, life is terrible, life is awful. So you have to remove those things. No tools of iron. You cannot build with the harshness of the 3D reality. You have to take that and leave it out here. And that is you building the temple. This is the temple of Solomon, in which now you can build up something. You build up your consciousness itself within you in the silence. So it's allegorical. All right, let's see. Feel like the light created everything, then there's got to be a rule book. Like there was always different religions in history until they got standardized. Yeah. I mean, if you're familiar with the Bible, I would say stick to that. Bible by itself, you can spend a long time uncovering the allegories and the symbolism. But always look at it as if you're just reading a story about yourself. Put yourself in the story. There's not one story in there that isn't about consciousness and the different aspects that you have within yourself. One of my favorites is Moses and the Red Sea, in which, you would think a story like that has nothing to do with anything, but it's just about how there's a version of you that wants to get out of darkness, get out of this mundane experience that you're living in Moses is just an aspect of you, like the story says, who wants to get his people out. You want to get out of your situation, so you want to leave. But in order for you to do that, you have to cross the Red Sea. And the Red Sea means two things. It means emotions, because your sea represents those strong emotions you have. And the fact that it's red means that they're strong, because red is the color of the red chakra, which means the lower centers. So that's something you must cross first. If you have your emotions, those very intense feelings that always overwhelm you and overcome you, then you're just going to be stuck in what you would call Egypt, or the darkness. As soon as you cross that, you're supposed to be in the promised land. This is peace. This is harmony. This is everything is fine. That's the mentality. So that is what the story means. Every story is laced with that symbolism. And all you got to do is see it, understand it, and sort of decode it. So it is very sacred, as I mentioned. It's just that every story must be seen in that lens, where it has to do with manifesting with consciousness and with the unfoldment of yourself, every individual, because we all are light. And it becomes less of a rule book and more of an unfoldment. Because for there to be a rule book, everybody has to be the same. But we all live different lives. So it's all about the unfoldment of your own consciousness, which is why I emphasize meditation so much, because if you want the answers to what you're supposed to do or the specific ways you're supposed to do them, the only way you can find out, and what I always do, is direct people to find out for themselves. I can't really tell people what to do, but I can direct people where to find the answer, and that is within. Yeah, the Old Testament has more truth. I would say this too about the Old Testament. The weirder the story, the deeper the truth. And that's what I say. It's because whenever there's a weird number and gets into numerology, like walking around Jericho 7 times this, and every time they multiply numbers, it all means something, for sure. I find it to be, if you find well learned you in all ways. Yeah. So, you can get into Kabbalah as well. That's another deep thing that you can do. That gets a lot into Hebrew, into numbers, and all those things. One of the things I talk about as well, the extent of what I know about, Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, I guess you can say, is just about Yahweh and the four letters, what that has to do with manifestation. But every aspect that has something to do with consciousness, with the unfoldment of yourself, just letting yourself be the best version that you can of yourself. The universe doesn't want anyone to struggle. God doesn't want anybody to be stuck in feeling miserable. We just do this a lot of time through not understanding. So a lot of times people do just want to leave, want to go to heaven straight, but you can have heaven on earth. And this is what's represented in Revelation when God's kingdom comes down to earth. You see, it comes descending down through you.
What's your top book to recommend?
My top book? I have a few, but one of my favorites, if you want to get into just like the basic fundamentals of like consciousness, I would just say read the Kybalion first. You understand the 7 Hermetic principles, and if you really understand those really well, you understand vibration, you understand gender, polarity, all is mind. That's the building blocks of everything. Then you can sort of build upon that. And if you want to get into just like meditation, you just read pretty much any book by Neville Goddard. And Power of the Subconscious Mind was my first book when I got into manifestation.
And The Art of Meditation, I would say, is really good.
The Art of Meditation, actually, if then you want to learn how to meditate, The Art of Meditation by Joel Goldsmith was one of my favorites into just understanding the process of meditating. Because as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, the struggle is in meditating itself, because that is where you're trying to manifest or find peace and find answers, But if you can't meditate, it becomes difficult. So meditation is a process in itself. So definitely check that one out. The Art of Meditation by Joel Goldsmith. And again, Power of the Subconscious Mind, one of my first ones in just understanding the process of the conscious and the subconscious mind, and then the Kybalion for sure.
Game of Life and How to Play It.
The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn.
They're good ones.
Yeah.
He says, yeah, but you got another question there.
Okay, let's see. I gotta know the boundaries, like the first laws to meditate. Yeah, so the whole idea of me even starting this live was to talk about like the meditation itself and the struggle. But yeah, the first thing I would say is you would just have to learn to have some basic fundamentals of these ideas. So a lot of times it's just learning to meditate is the first step. And it's just being okay with the silence. This world is full of phones, entertainment, noise, and just trying to focus on your outer expression, that the inner world is highly neglected. And so the inner world, you can only hear what you would call, quote unquote, the whispers of God, is if you block out the noise, and that is through meditation. And then meditation is a process in itself. And yeah, it is something you have to work towards. So I see here, it says it's by conditioning. And so you could even say, I've actually made a video about this in my channel if you want to check it out as well. It's called the 12 Disciples, or I think it was a short series actually. Yeah, the 12 Disciples. The 12 Disciples and what they have to do with manifestation. And it's just about like how the 12 disciples are all pretty much allegories for different disciplines of meditation and manifestation. So the word disciple pretty much means discipline. So if we're talking about disciplining the mind, having discipline, it just simply is expressed through the names of each disciple. Like John, Andrew, Bartholomew, all of those mean something specific. Like we look at Peter, his name means, what was it, sand or listening? But ultimately he gets a name change, and then his name means to listen, which means to just listen to that still small voice within you. Each one builds upon the next one. You have all the 12 disciples, and they all have to do with meditation, manifestation, and how to discipline yourself into even getting into that state. But first, you just want to get into listening, into just not listening to the outer noise, but listening to what you have going on within you. And that's all it means. That's the first step, because you want to listen to your intuition. But a lot of times your intuition is just blocked by everything out here. So that's the struggle.
And darkness being where you find the light. And that's where the darkness is good. Because it's within darkness, within meditation is that you find the light.
Yeah. Within the darkness you find the light, which is a good point. Oh no, you're good. Way too deep. No, it's fine. I mean, that's all I do, A lot of times I just speak about these things and I just go on a bunch of thoughts, and my train of thought is always, goes different directions and it all connects, But yeah, I'm glad you tuned in. And if you ever have any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop them. I'll answer them. But yeah, that's pretty much how the whole thing works. But yeah, there's no need to throw anything away. There's no need to deny yourself, deny being a human. Another thing that I see with people is that you have to learn to be a certain way. So like discipline actually just means to people that you have to stop being yourself. And that actually is not what it means. It's sort of like once you become more spiritual, and once you actually learn to meditate, learn to concentrate, you know what you want to get into manifesting, you actually become more of yourself. So a lot of times, again, in spiritual circles with spiritual people, you see like, well, I got to stop being myself. I have to be this kind of person that's more soft-spoken. I have to be like this. I have to eat a certain way. I got to act a certain way. I have to stop being myself. I have to deny myself. But that's not what it means, actually. It just simply means letting go of a different version of yourself so that you can actually become the real version of yourself. So it's like, if you're becoming an artificial version of yourself, this is why so many people have so much anxiety and so much depression and so much heaviness, because you're putting on an act, you're putting on a performance. It's like, who really are you? And so a lot of people actually have ideas where they think their thoughts that they have are theirs, but they're actually not. So it's like, who really are you anyway? You're not yourself. You're not really who you are meant to be, and you're actually just pretending to be someone you thought you actually were. So then the process of true spirituality is just becoming the truest version of yourself. As I mentioned, letting the light that you have within express itself outwardly. So you actually become more of yourself. You see, you're actually not becoming less of yourself. You don't have to try to be a certain way. And if you have a certain way of being that you feel is uncomfortable, then it's actually not you. So yourself unfolds naturally. If you have to drop something off that no longer serves you, it happens without you even trying almost. It's natural. You don't have to force it. It doesn't have to be this strong struggle. It just falls off by itself as you become the new version of yourself. So there's no need to try to make it happen. That is a good channel, yeah. Giving Voices. I like the guy's voice. I think his name was Barry. But yeah, I listen to a lot of those things when I'm on drives. He has a lot of good books as well, very mystical books. But he has sort of a deep voice, and he kind of talks, and it's like very soothing. But yeah, definitely that's a good one right there. You can click on almost any book. They're all really good, for sure. Well, that's pretty much it. If anyone has any other last questions, I'll leave it open for the time being. But yeah, any other thoughts or anything? I mean, if you're struggling with all this stuff, the original idea was always, it's okay. Just let yourself unfold naturally. Let everything be natural. Don't force anything. If you can't meditate, it's fine. Work towards it slowly. Understand the process, learn to concentrate, and then let go of those heavy feelings.
If you feel like you're in a loop, that means you're walking in darkness. So you have to find the light in the darkness.
So if you're in the darkness, if you guys couldn't hear it, that means that you're just in a loop. As I mentioned, in the darkness, there's no sense of direction. That's why a lot of people say, I don't know what to do. I have no sense of direction. What's the meaning? What am I supposed to do? It's because you're blinded. If you're like this, you're not going to know what to do. So all you got to do is remove we call it the veil, and open your eyes. And then you'll be able to see, which is the light. And you find the light within you. But yeah, that's pretty much the end. Well, yeah, thank you guys. I'll be on.
He appreciates your content. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys. Eternal, thank you. I see it with the eternal 1111 angel numbers. But yeah, thank you guys. I'll be on next week, probably Sunday, around the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm on the East Coast in the US. So stay tuned for that. If you guys have any questions, you can always feel free to ask me on there, on YouTube or any social media platform. If you guys have any ideas as well for any lives, I can do that as well. I'm open to any conversations about anything spirituality, manifestation. So nothing is too weird. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any struggles with manifesting or you want my help, I always leave a link in one of my videos, whether it's my shorts or my long forms, for a session with me. So if you want help with just going through manifestation, making it become natural for you, to just have someone guide you through the process, click that link and you can pick a slot to have a session with me on there. So that's with anybody who's struggling with manifestation or anything like this. But with that being said, I'll be on next week. Thank you guys, and I look forward to the next one with everyone. Thank you.